AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride! Woo!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
You so. And Mr. Toby Tomplake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Talk some MLB Draft with Kylie McDaniel of ESPN in about 15 minutes from right now. Luch will be here next hour recapping a wild weekend across regionals. A weekend, by the way, which we saw a record on Friday. If you weren't paying attention, four seeds beat 1 seeds on Friday. It's the most it's ever happened, including the first time ever that the number 1 overall seed lost their opening game to a 4 seed, with UCLA losing to St. Mary's, who eventually eliminated the number 1 overall seed. So wild weekend in regionals. We'll talk about it all with Luch coming up in about an hour from right now. This was a massive recruiting weekend for LSU. There were 6 official visitors on campus. 4 of them 5 stars, including Jalen Brewster, the number 1 overall player in the country, a Texas Tech commit, Easton Royal, the number 1 receiver in the country from Brother Martin, New Orleans, current Texas commit, Abraham Cisse, an edge rusher from Pennsylvania, uncommitted but thought to be a Notre Dame lean, and I am told LSU really, really, really likes Abraham Cisse. And then Xavier Sabb was a late add. He's a 5-star, one of the top athletes in the country. He's out of Jersey. He's made a bunch of visits to Rutgers. He's uncommitted presently, could play receiver, could play safety, but one of the top athletes in the country. Those 4 5-stars were on campus. And it was a perfect opportunity to unleash Ed Orgeron in his new role as special assistant for defense and recruiting. And if anyone wondered if Ed Orgeron's hiring was merely symbolic, this weekend should have pretty clearly answered that question. That Ed Orgeron ain't just out there to shake a few hands and pose for some pictures. The number 1 prospect in America, Jalen Brewster, was on LSU's campus. He's a defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman, 6'3", 300 pounds, out of Cedar Hill, Texas. He's currently committed to Texas Tech. He posts on his Instagram story this video of he and Ed Orgeron doing leverage drills, I guess. I don't even know where they are. Like, I think that might be court to table. I mean, only reason I'd say that is because I'm looking at the little chair in the foreground that looks like the furniture they have at court to table, like with a big field behind them on Burbank. Like maybe they brought him over there for lunch and to play pickleball, and Ed Orgeron's like, let's drop everything and do some leverage drills. Which, by the way, if you've never heard the story, when Ed Orgeron got the Ole Miss head coaching job, this has been told before, but one of the reasons he got the job is like he's interviewing with the AD, the university presidents, and big boosters, and like they're in suits, and in the meeting, he's got like these boosters in 3-point stances. He's teaching them D-line stuff, right? And so they thought they recruited this recruiter football guy. Some of that is just innate, and it will never leave him. And the thing that we talked about here, I guess 2 weeks ago when Lane Kiffin hired Ed, is the same thing we talked about 6 months ago when they were talking about hiring Ed, is the same thing we talked about 10 years ago when Les Miles hired Ed, which is there are two things that are undeniable about Ed Orgeron. We can have all the conversation about legacy and what went right and what went wrong during his tenure as the head coach, whatever. We can have all that conversation. There's two things that are undeniable. He is one of the greatest defensive line coaches in the country, and he is one of the great recruiters of this or any era. Like there is no argument to the contrary about either of those things. And those two things were on full display this weekend. And then after you get the video, and that was something that Brewster posted on his Instagram story. Well, Brewster also posted on his Instagram feed, so a post, a 2.5-minute video, which many of you have seen by now, but it's a 2.5, which everybody's seen by now, but it's Ed Orgeron in the tunnel in Tiger Stadium, basically walking all of these people through the pregame ritual, touching the wind bar, running through the goalpost, never around it, what a game day is like, and the thing that strikes me so much about that in particular is there is nobody on Lane Kiffin's staff that he brought in that can do that, because none of them have experienced this. Certainly not the way that Ed Orgeron described it. If you this is a little piece of, and by the way, this is Brewster on his phone, the number one player in the country on his phone, videoing Ed Orgeron do this in the locker room.
Touched this win ball since 1984. Everybody got that? Right. When we walk out this field, go there and kick some ass. You got that? Yeah, baby. Now look, we walk out of here, we hit that. Everybody got it. We open it up. There's 102,000 screaming LSU fans waiting on you. Watch them get ready to perform. And guess what, Mom and Daddy sitting in your family? Right on the 50-yard line, waiting to watch you make that big play. Everybody got that?
I mean, he goes through the whole thing. They go through the whole thing of the greatest sound in football, LSU Tigers going to war, buckle the chin strap. That makes all these people make a chin strap sound with their mouth going. And to get that much buy-in from all these people who you've never met it just speaks to why he is so good at that thing. Now, look, I don't know what payoff will be here. Like, I don't know if LSU is going to get commits as a result of this, okay? But here's what I do know. And this is something that, from my perspective as a media person, I can explain unequivocally about this, okay, what happened this weekend. There is a difference, and if you're a business owner, you probably know this too. There's a difference between paid media and what's called earned media. Paid media is just what it sounds like. You pay. Someone pays to have their message, their commercial, their whatever broadcast. You pay to have a Facebook ad run and get in people's feeds. You pay for a radio commercial. You pay, look, right here, if you're watching right now, Relief Windows, Relief Windows, Relief Windows, Relief Windows, Relief Windows. That's paid media. Okay, Relief Windows is paying for that. That's paid media. Earned media is what you get organically. If someone is putting your logo, your message, your thing out there publicly, okay? So you look at this video that Jalen Brewster puts on social media, and then dozens of media people rip it and go post it on Twitter and all these other platforms. This goes viral. This has literally millions of impressions across social media platforms on Saturday. Think about what it would cost if you wanted to go buy millions of impressions for your target demographic. Well, you didn't have to buy it. Ed Orgeron this is just himself, a recruit, videos it, puts it on social media, it goes viral, boom, earned media. Great example of that was Angel Reese. The You Can't See Me to Caitlin Clark. There's probably no singular event in LSU history that got more earned media than that. Like, I've told this a million times, but if you think of it, the next Saturday, SNL, Punky Johnson on SNL does a skit on Weekend Update where she's portraying Angel Reese wearing an LSU women's basketball jersey. Like, you could not go to 30 Rock, go to the NBC offices and say, yes, with your checkbook, and say, I would like for you to do a skit on Weekend Update to promote my business. Like, there's no, or my brand. You cannot do that. There is no possibility. And LSU got that for free with the Angel Reese stuff. That's incredible. Remember the 2019 hype videos? Those became such giant cultural things that A-list people, The Rock, Anthony Mackie, you had A-list people wanting to voice those things for free because they wanted to be part of something culturally that big and awesome. That's earned media. LSU got a ton of that on one recruiting Saturday from Ed Orgeron just being who he is as a recruiter. That in and of itself, that weekend might have paid his salary, just in earned media from this past weekend. Now, we'll see if it nets any flips. I think it's going to be very difficult to flip any of those prospects because what you're going to have to do is prove where you're going to invest your cap for 2027. And Lane Kiffin has said it repeatedly. You know, when they're recruiting high schoolers, they're also looking at character because if you have guys that you're going to pay as a freshman and then leave after 1 year, if they didn't contribute in their first year, well, then you've wasted that money. You got to pay guys coming in as freshmen that are going to compete immediately or contribute immediately or who are going to stay. And so I think it's pretty easy to see when you look at Brewster and Cisse and Easton Royal, where this staff is looking at investing in the high school rank for 2027. At least the top end of it, right? And the defensive line and receiver looks like a pretty obvious spot. So we'll see if LSU continues to push on a guy like Jalen Brewster or Abraham Cisse or someone like Mitchell Turner, who's one of the top defensive tackles in the country from Mississippi, who's on a midweek official visit this week. But it's pretty clear where LSU is looking to invest their resources in this 2027 high school class. We'll see if it nets them any results. All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back. Kylie McDaniel will be here. We'll talk some MLB Draft. Stick around.
AFR.
Got a call earlier today from Erica. She was at Clegg's nursery. Finally, I told you, one of our Mother's Day traditions is we go to Clegg's, and Erica buys a whole bunch of flowers, and I have to help her plant them, and I can't complain. Well, the Saturday before Mother's Day this year, it rained cats and dogs, so we didn't get to go, and then I was out of town, and it just hadn't worked yet. So she was off work today, and so she just like, I'm going. So Erica went today to Clegg's. I'm sure she bought them out of every dippledinia they have over there. She also got the Aeon mosquito barrier, something I've told you about forever. Highly recommend you go get the Aeon mosquito barrier. Is such an awesome product. It's the size of a track baton, has granules in it. You pop the top off, you fill it up with water, you shake it up, hang it on your property line. You're done with mosquitoes 90 days at a time. It's worked tremendously. And we don't use anything else for mosquitoes except that product. It works awesome. And if it doesn't, all right, you're out $30. Try it out. Whatever you do. Buy local, shop local, Clegg's Nursery.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. And oh, we do shutters too.
Man, MLB Draft will be here before you know it. Kylie McDaniel from ESPN's good enough to hang out with us, talk a little bit about the LSU guys and the signees who will have a decision to make come July. Kylie, we appreciate you as always, man. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yep, it's our pleasure. Let's start with some of the guys currently on LSU's roster that seemingly are going to have a decision to make. And Kylie, the one here that keeps getting talked about the most is Stephen Milam. And the idea kind of being he may fall into slot value range where LSU could match it with an NIL rev share deal. What's the buzz you're hearing about Milam and where he may fall in this draft?
I haven't done the super deep dive at that juncture of the draft yet, which I think probably tells you something, that I haven't heard his name inside of 3 rounds. And then once you get into that 4th, 5th area, which I think would probably be the answer if I went and, polled 7 or 8 scouts, like, what do you have? Because he certainly is a sure-handed infielder that can put the bat on the ball and just doesn't have a ton of raw power, isn't the biggest guy in the world. Those are the 2 things that teams are generally looking for. I wrote an article about it to kick off our draft blog at ESPN.com. That increasingly, if you have the bat-to-ball guys that play good defense but don't really hit it that hard, there isn't a team to take those guys anymore. It used to be there'd always be a team, Tampa, Milwaukee, Cleveland, would take those guys in 2nd or 3rd rounds, and now those teams are taking different kinds of guys. They're taking the big, burly corner guys with huge exit velos because that's sort of what's in vogue, what teams think they can work with best as like a ball of clay, has trade value, all that kind of stuff. So I think he is a good example of that kind of guy, where I think what you're saying is that would be low to maybe mid-figure, 6 figures. And I think that's probably doable if LSU feels like that's their best option to bring back a guy that they kind of know what they're getting that can contribute. Because obviously if you're getting like a real standout toolsy, maybe freshman or sophomore shortstop, oftentimes that guy, the tools and the performance won't match. You won't necessarily know what you're getting. And this guy, you know what you're getting. So yeah, I think that scenario you're laying out does seem to have a real chance to happen.
Derek Curiel was in our studio last week and disclosed that he broke his ankle in November. That would certainly speak to and what contributed to his slow start. How much, if at all, does that slow start weigh as a negative toward Curiel?
Certainly part of it. I think his performance is a little better than I was expecting this year on the whole. And so, starting slow when you have the easier competition is definitely going to impact that. And I think a lot of times what's happening until you get late in the process, teams are going off of scouting reports on what they saw that day, not necessarily knowing the injury, and then looking at aggregate stats over the entire season. And now is the time of year when they're across the board. Obviously, they're doing this stuff earlier sometimes too, but across the board, looking at first half, second half, in, out of conference, all that kind of stuff, trying to drill down and see what they've been missing. And maybe finding out that the area guy knew about an injury, but then the cross-checker didn't know. There's a lot of pieces of information floating around that aren't always organized in a way that's easy to process. So I think he'll probably benefit as a result of that. Because like I said, there were questions about how much raw power he had coming into the year, and I think he performed a little better in that respect than scouts were expecting.
You mocked him 24 to Seattle. What do you think is the ceiling and the floor?
There is a breaking point around pick 7, 8, 9, maybe 10, where there is a top tier of players that will go inside of that range. A couple teams might surprise and take underslot options if they don't like the one that gets to them. And then after that point, sorry, the dog just brought in a chew toy in there.
It's all good.
After that point,
we love dogs.
You're getting, he's very excited. We're just taking him on a walk soon, so that'll be dealt with. But after that point, it's sort of an open question that certain teams will see, we don't love what we're looking at, what's available for slot. And so we're going to take an underslot option. And so I think like the sweet spot for him is probably 15 to 20. I wouldn't rule out him going ahead of that if a team just happens to not necessarily love their slot options and might want to undercut him a little bit higher than that. I could see as early as the late top 10 because, like I said, he's a guy that can play center field, put the bat on the ball, finish pretty well, younger than a lot of the other guys around him. He's got a lot of things in his favor.
Kylie McDaniel's with us at Kylie McD, if you want to give him a follow there on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Okay, the other one is Jake Brown, talking about outfielders. Had the ham-8 bone injury, was having an incredible year, injured, then misses the final month. So what does all that mean for Jake Brown come the draft in July?
I think the hot start has some people thinking late first round into the compensation. The finish, and I think some of the, like I said, going back to the exit deal of the contact rate, him being a not enormous, not a ton of raw power, not an unbelievable bat-to-ball ability. It's a lot of very good skills and strong performance. And I think a guy that was seen as like a 2A guy coming into campus and then sort of, worked his way into being a definite hitter. I think he's probably going to go somewhere in the second round. And he's one of those guys that has a chance to maybe go in the comp round to the right team. Maybe it's early or late in the second. I think there's like a little bit of a wider area, but I'd say anywhere from like 35 to 65 is probably the range I would see him landing in.
Is Devin Sheeran the other top prospect on this current LSU team, or is there someone else you're intrigued by?
Yeah, Sharon would be the other one. I think this was, again, something I wrote in that draft blog on ESPN.com, where there are sort of two different things going on with hitters. Teams are prioritizing exit velos and sort of now power as like the thing that they want that you can't necessarily teach that they can work with. And for pitchers, it's raw stuff and athleticism. The theory being that even if you're a college reliever, but you're an athlete with big stuff, we think we can teach you the first strikes and sort of figure out how to harness all this stuff. If you think of like Jacob Mizorowski as the extreme example of that,
Sure.
So the guy that couldn't throw strikes in high school, walked a lot of guys in junior college, and now he's what he is because he throws so hard and is an athlete, and they figured it out. And I pointed out to Evan Sheeran, I think it's probably the number one college reliever to potential pro starter in the draft. And we now see those guys like J.C. Quinn and Michael Lombardi in last year's draft out of Georgia and Tulane went in the late second round. I think that's probably Sheeran's range. Is I think starting in the late second, right when all of the consensus players start to run out, do teams then say, hey, well, this is a guy we thought we could get in the third. He's probably not going to be there. Let's go ahead and get him here. So I think maybe at the end of that Jake Brown range, around pick 60 to 70, I think his range starts. I think it probably ends inside of the top 100 because the sort of raw physical gifts he offers are not easy to find, especially in college with performance in the SEC.
Kylie McDaniel is our guest. LSU has Jay Johnson always does a great job recruiting the high school ranks, but there's always the question, Kylie, of how many of these guys are actually going to show up on campus. There's some that feel pretty obvious, right? Like Logan Schmidt. What if you look at the list of LSU signees, who do you think might have a decision to make? Or maybe a better way to say is like who? Let me ask you that. Like, who do you think is actually going to be an interesting one to watch if they have a decision to make?
I would agree that I'm looking at sort of my rankings, the order of the LSU commits. I think the first 3 to 5 are either no's or likely no's to get to campus. That would be Schmidt, Jensen Hirschhorn out of California, right-handed pitcher, Malachi Washington, center fielder out of the Atlanta area, Will Adams, first baseman out of Hoover High School in Alabama, and then Dominic Santorelli, left field first base out of Wisconsin. Those guys all have, I'd say, pretty significant seven-figure interest. You assume all of them will get offered seven figures. Not a lot of guys, I'd say a handful, maybe even single digits, turn down 1.5 or more in the draft. So all those guys, I think, will have real decisions to make. I would be surprised if more than one of them got to campus. I think if you get one, you're doing a good job out of that group because I think they're all going to get offered, I'd say 1.5 or north, maybe 1.3 or north, pretty securely. I think multiple teams will be in that area. And then after that group, you then have a lot of guys where it could go either way. So Lucas Naraki, I think, is probably the best of the guys I think will get to campus. He actually has a lot of the stuff scouts are looking for with like the sweeper, the spin rate, throws hard. He's just 5'11", and so a left-handed pitcher out of Texas. I just think the interest will be, let's see him do it for 3 years in the SEC, see if there's the starter traits. If all that stuff can come together, then we'll pay him. But we're not in the habit of paying guys with sort of relief risk out of high school. Yeah. Nathaniel Davis, center fielder out of Orlando. I think another guy that's going to be right at that area where I think what he's looking for, what he's going to get offered, probably lower seven figures. I think will be a decision. I think Colby Stringer, a late commit during the spring, right-hander out of Mississippi. There's a couple teams that are really on him into the seven figures. I don't know if it's only a couple teams, they might just run out of money before they get to him. So I think he'll have a decision. Colton Brady, I just saw recently, high school pitcher out of an academy in Florida. I think he's also in that sort of lower seven-figure area, but it's not guaranteed to get it. Anthony Murphy, Corona High School in California. He's 19 on draft day. I think he's looking for big money. I think he's got a real shot to get to school. Cooper Sides, righty out of Southern California. Saw him up to 98 this spring, but the fastball shape isn't great, so he might be a guy you have to sort of tweak the delivery and kind of work on that kind of stuff. And then the last guy I'd say is probably C.J. Weinstein, second baseman out of the same high school in California. He's also 19 on draft day. I think he might be a guy that comes to school, plays for 2 years, is a really good, hitter that can play second or third. And the last guy, Spencer Evans, another lefty, also 19 on draft day. Again, teams are shying away from these guys, which means the colleges like to commit them because you get 2 years instead of 0. Lefty up to 95, 96, I think can probably start in relief and work his way into starting. So, like I said, after those first 5 guys, you're hoping to get one, and then I would think you're probably going to get the majority, maybe 75% of those other guys I just said, and that's a lot of guys. Yeah. And I can see that that level of quality you're looking for in the commit has to be, as a freshman, are they going to be as good as a sort of second-tier portal guy that would be the replacement for them? I think those guys are all talented enough, and like I said, largely 19 on draft day at bigger schools in very competitive areas of the country. I can see what Jay was doing here, and I think they're going to get a nice chunk of this group on campus.
Music to Jay Johnson's ears. He's Kylie McDaniel. Before you go, we talked about 4 current LSU Tigers. Anybody else on the roster that you're looking at as an intriguing draftable prospect?
Oh yeah, I mean, if I'm doing all of the high schoolers of all the different classes, I'm also doing all the college guys. Keaton Evans is a big guy for next year. Looks like a first rounder. How good his breaking ball is going to be will dictate if it's top or bottom half of the first round. For the 27 draft, also William Schmidt. If he can start, put up a bunch of innings, bunch of strikeouts, I think he also could be a first rounder, probably more second round right now. And then in the 28 class would be the freshmen, Omar Cerna, Marcos Paz, Mason Braun, maybe Reagan Ricken. Those are all the guys getting, I'd say, like sort of top 5 round, maybe 3 or 4 round attention. If I said top 5 rounds, I probably said 6 or 7 more guys. And you don't want me to keep saying names. I would also keep an eye on for 26. There's one other guy you left out, Santiago Garcia. Didn't have the greatest performance. His raw stuff grades are incredible, and I kind of wonder if there's a team in the weeds that thinks they can get that guy throwing more strikes because the TrackMan data is very interesting.
Garcia, okay, yeah, we could just go through names. I was more talking 26 to see who else. So maybe those 5. Milam, Curiel, Brown, Sheeran, Garcia are the ones to keep an eye on when draft day comes. We'll be following along. Kylie McDaniel, make sure you follow him at Kylie McD there on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Kylie, go take the dog for a walk, man. We appreciate you holding off on that and spending some time with us, man. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. It's After Further Review. We're brought by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com, lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Always love telling you about Lee Michaels because they're awesome people. They treat you right. They have a great product, and they help you make memories. When you think about it, when you buy a beautiful piece of jewelry that you give as a gift, be it an engagement ring, an anniversary present, a birthday present, maybe you're celebrating a graduation or some momentous life occasion, and you celebrate it with a beautiful, timeless, elegant piece of jewelry, that's something that you'll associate it with that memory forever. You'd love to pass down through different generations of your family. Lee Michaels loves to be a part of that experience. So that's why they've created the Lee Michaels experience. When you walk in, you're not going to be greeted by some disheveled person hammering away on a calculator how much they're going to save you or whatever. They're going to offer you something cold to drink or chocolates on a tray, and they're going to make you feel like the reason you're there is to do something special. You're never going to be pressured into buying anything. You want to try on 10,000 pieces of jewelry, do it. They want you to have a great experience and be thrilled with your purchase. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com, lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. All right, we're halfway home here on this Monday. If you missed Sam Spiegelman in Hour 1 talking some Cruton, we talked a lot of Elite 11. Pop Houston had a heck of a show in there at the Elite 11 Finals. You can catch that on demand. You just heard from Kylie McDaniel. We do have David DeLucci coming up in about 30 minutes from right now. We're recapping busy, crazy weekend from regionals. So we'll do that coming up. All right, it's After Further Review. Let me knock out a quick break. A couple of college football topics that are percolating. Got an update on the Brendan Sorsby situation, and the College Football Hall of Fame ballot is out. There's a couple of former Tigers on it. We'll discuss as we continue. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Man, I always encourage people, get to downtown Baton Rouge. I work downtown, love going downtown. And Watermark Baton Rouge is downtown as well. Watermark is Baton Rouge's premier hotel property. Not just me saying it. You've said it as well. Voted by you the best hotel and the best of 225. It is the picture of luxury. It is a true luxury hotel, and it is awesome. If you're coming in town if you're starting to plan those LSU football game day weekends, it's not too early. Don't let it get too late to book your rooms for those key LSU football weekends if you're going to be coming in town. And it's so great when you stay downtown. You stay at Watermark, it's so easy to shoot right down Nicholson into campus and then get back to your hotel as well. And Watermark is walking distance from everything in downtown Baton Rouge. You got the Gregory and Milford's on 3rd, 2 dining options right there inside of Watermark Baton Rouge. Great place to hold any type of event. Make sure you check them out downtown. It's Watermark Baton Rouge.
After Further Review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and we do shutters too.
Always a big shout out to Brandon, Holly, and the gang over at Relief Windows, man. Been yelling about Relief Windows for more than a decade. They're the best. Windows, doors, siding, shutters, and shades. Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. I'm going to get you an update on Brendan Sorsby, that situation here in just a quick second. attorneys for both sides talking. There was a court hearing today. We'll get to that in a second. Mike Leach is on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot for the first time, which is cool to see. Of course, posthumously, Leach died in December of 2022, so a little more than 3 years ago. He was 61. We know had complications from a heart condition, and he died very, very abruptly. And this became kind of a talking point because Leach, his career winning percentage was .596. He was 158 and 107. And the threshold for election to the College Football Hall of Fame was 600. You had to win 60% of your games. So he was just a tick below that. And so in 2025, the National Football Foundation, which oversees the Hall of Fame, they adjusted the winning percentage from 600 to 595, really with the intention of making someone like Mike Leach eligible for induction. Now, the reason we talked about this a year ago when they adjusted the winning percentage was because that also affects someone like Les Miles, who was a Hall of Fame shoo-in as a national champion, played in 2 national championships, won 2 SEC titles, played for a third, had the winning percentage. Well, after Miles's career was over and LSU was sanctioned as part of the Title IX investigation, and then the booster situation happened with Vidal Alexander's dad and all that sort of stuff, they, with forfeiture of some of those games, it dropped Miles below the threshold. So on field, he clearly reached that number and should be a no doubt Hall of Famer. But with the forfeiture of the wins, it dropped him below. Now with the adjustment, he's back eligible again, and one day, no doubt, will and should be in the College Football Hall of Fame. I know it's Miles is interesting because there are LSU fans who criticize Les for a lot of the things that warrant criticism, the stubbornness with the offense and so on. What is undeniable is Les in the hardest conference in America, in the same division as the greatest coach ever, won at a clip like nobody else did. Won a championship, played for another, won 2 SEC titles, played for a third, and he's one of the most idiosyncratic characters the sport has quite literally ever seen, from the high hat and eating grass and all that sort of stuff. So Mike Leach is going to get elected, and I think should. So too should Les Miles, and his day will come, and we'll look forward to celebrating that when it happens. Now, Les is not on the ballot this year. Leach, however, is on the ballot. So we'll see if, in fact, Leach gets elected. Cam Newton also is on the ballot this year, along with RG3, a couple of Heisman winners. A.J. Hawk, Melvin Gordon on the list. Former Tigers Alan Faneca, Patrick Peterson are on the list as well, and guys who no doubt at some point in their life will be elected. It's interesting. There are 80 players, nine coaches from the FBS, and 99 players, 39 coaches from other NCAA or NAIA divisions. So it's a large, robust list, and it's very hard to get elected because you have so many worthy people that are on the list every single year. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll see what may happen with the coaches. Everyone's going to keep an eye on Mike Leach. And eventually, Les Miles will have his day as well. All right, it's After Further Review. We're glad you're with us. We're brought to you by Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, Arco.com, Arco.com. Terrio was in here on Friday, and I mentioned this to him live on air and didn't even realize it. But I say all the time, what happens to your business if the power goes out? Like, we've all been through power outages during storms at our home. And Ida was it for me. When Ida hit, we didn't have power for 2 weeks. I was like, that's it. We're getting a generator at our house. We did. What about your business? Like, what happens to your business if the power goes out for a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, 3, whatever? Well, you can't just stop. You have to have an option, just like you would for your home. Well, Arco is industrial Generac generator power that's for your business. Your business, your commercial building, your industrial facility, schools, churches, literally any type of business or commercial building. Power goes out. What do you do for reliable backup energy? Arco, ARCCO, Arco.com, Arco.com, Arco.com for Arco Power Systems. The NCAA and and Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby's attorneys are having it out in court. There was an advancement late Friday, and a hearing on Sorsby's request for an injunction was scheduled for today, Monday, in Lubbock. Here was Pete Thamel.
Well, the latest news, Matt, is there likely won't be a ruling today. The judge asked for a little more information. We'll have a ruling by June 15th, probably in the upcoming days. But what we had basically was a 2-hour hearing with your basic back and forth arguments from both lawyers. Brendan Sorsby was not present at this. The NCAA's case could simply put be the Goodwill Hunting case. You hit a cop, you're going to jail. They said Brendan Sorsby bet on his own team, violated NCAA Rule 10.3. You should not play college football anymore. That is permanent ineligibility. Arguing in defense of Sorsby was Jeffrey Kessler, who has a very good record arguing against the NCAA. And Kessler's argument was much different. He basically said all precedent in NCAA gambling cases should be thrown out because there hasn't been a case quite like Brendan Sorsby. Brendan Sorsby has a gambling addiction. He went and sought treatment at a facility. He spent 35 days in an inpatient rehab center. He brought up the NCAA's own rules as a strong part of his argument. He said the NCAA handbook says to put student-athlete welfare first, and he argues the NCAA did not do that.
You can put student-athlete welfare first in getting Brendan Sorsby all the help he needs for his addiction. Gambling addiction. And not play. Because you don't get to play football or college sports if you bet on sports. It's black and white. It's a rule. It's a precedent set. The NCAA wrote their attorneys that granting the injunction would have, quote, broad-ranging and destabilizing ramifications. It would effectively sanction sports gambling by the most vulnerable student-athletes. Those suffering from a gambling addiction could continue to bet knowing they could follow the plaintiff's lead and rush to court if caught. It's true. This would be a devastating precedent if Sorsby is allowed to play. I do not believe for a millisecond that he has a gambling addiction. I think that is stupid. I understand he is playing whatever hand and card he can because he is trying to gain eligibility to make $5 million this year. And Texas Tech wants to win. So I understand their motives. To think that Brendan Sorsby has a gambling addiction is absurd beyond measure. I'm not saying that addictions aren't real and gambling addictions aren't real. Clearly, they are. I do not believe that's the case here because this only became a thing once he got caught. And by the way, they also have dated back to 2024 when Cincinnati, wait, I'll tell you the exact date. August 19th of 2024, Cincinnati was made aware that Sorsby was active on Prize Picks, daily fantasy. That's almost 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago. Gambling addiction. Shut up. I was born tonight, but I wasn't born last night. Anyway, listen, I don't think that I need to sit here and make any type of wild accusations or claims. Any rational human can understand why athletes betting on sports is not a good idea. It's why there's a black and white rule in every league that you can't bet on sports. Because if the integrity of the result is called into question because athletes are betting on those results, it calls into question the most fundamental part of the game, which is the win-loss, the wins and the losses. Is this a true result? So I'll say it again. Brendan Sorsby's career is and should be over. He should never play again. I have nothing against Texas Tech. I don't love Texas Tech. I don't hate Texas Tech. I don't care about Texas Tech at all. I think LSU dodged a huge bullet. The fact that Sorsby chose Texas Tech over LSU. But in the same way that I've been telling you for 2 weeks that I do not believe R.J. Lewis should play basketball at LSU because there is a black and white rule that if you sign an NBA contract, including a two-way contract, you do not have any more NCAA eligibility. He signed a two-way contract. He should not be eligible at LSU. I will not sit here at any point and endorse R.J. Lewis playing basketball at LSU. For the same reason, I'm not going to sit here and endorse Brendan Sorsby playing college football ever again. Your career's over. Go into the NFL supplemental draft, see if a team takes a shot on you, get your life in order, go play in the NFL. As that proceeds, we'll keep you posted. All right, it's After Further Review. Monday shows are brought to you by Relief Windows. We'll knock out our final break of hour number 2. I'm used to do Tigers and the Pros next.
AFR.
Get Gordon. Get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You've been injured in an accident, not your fault. You know what to do. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. GetGordon.com, getGordon.com, getGordon.com for Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. Hey, remember, also, Gordon loves to give back. The latest give back is the gas card giveaway. Gordon and his staff are giving away 10 $250 gas cards right now. I mean, I went to the pump this weekend to go fill up Erica's car. Whew. Price pushing there $4. Probably even higher than that in some places. Anyway, let Gordon help you. Go to getgordon.com, 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 or any of the social media platforms at getgordon if you want to find out more. So many ways Gordon gives back. Like we talk about the garage, right? Gordon's podcast studio that he built out. You want to use it? He lets anybody use it for free. Just call over there to the garage and register a time. You know what to do. You've been injured in an accident. It's not your fault. Go to getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
After Further Review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. And oh, we do shutters too.
Georgia Tech's leading Oklahoma top 8. 7-5. Regional championship. The number 1 overall seed has been eliminated, UCLA. The new betting favorite to win the College World Series, North Carolina. Take your shirt off, wave it around like a helicopter. Did I do it right? Do you even know that song?
I do. That's Petey Pablo, Raise Up. I do know that song.
It's you, Muse.
And you did do it right.
How about that?
You didn't, I mean, you left the shirt on.
I did.
But, yeah, I mean, but you the words were correct. Absolutely. Good song, man.
North Carolina's 4-1 to win the national championship. Georgia Tech, just playing for its life right now, but winning in the top of the 8th, is next at plus 420, followed by Texas plus 550. Georgia's sitting there at 6-1, Auburn 7-1, Mississippi State 7-1, Florida 12-1, A&M 20-1, West Virginia 22-1, Bama, Ole Miss, Kansas, Oregon. Well, Florida State, that ain't no good.
Yeah, they gone.
They gone. Can't bet on them no more. This was this morning. How about Arkansas? How about Little Rock at 300-1?
Take it.
I mean,
take a flyer. Why not?
I need to get Chris Curry. I need to get Chris Curry back on the show.
Yeah.
I need to do that. If you missed it, Chris Curry's the head coach at Little Rock. Texted me last week. Hadn't talked to him in a year. Just randomly texted me while I was in Arizona after the brackets had been revealed. And we basically texted back and forth. You know, he was just saying about how great it was being in Baton Rouge last year and hopes the people here would adopt their team. And tell you what, dog, you don't want Little Rock popping up your regional. I mean,
swept through that thing. Swept
I think he's probably going to be in line for a hefty upgrade next year somewhere. We'll see where that'll be. Muse, Tigers and the Pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
You've probably seen it by now, but if you haven't, Odell Beckham Jr. is back in the NFL, and he is back. No. And he is back with the New York Giants, the team that drafted him 12th overall out of LSU. 33 years old, Beckham was out of football a year ago, but now returns to where it all started. He ended his time in New York as the Giants' second leading receiver in franchise history. We'll see if he can build on that. He obviously won't break the record, but if he makes the team, he can build on his standing in second place. Cam Sanders is back in the show. Got some relief outing for the Steelers, for the Pirates, NFL on the mind, on Sunday. Shutout in relief with a punch out. Alex Bregman went yard. 5th homer of the season. Came in the second inning. Was the only run the Cubs scored. 1 for 4 for Bregman. He's having a good year. The Cubbies, not so much. And then WNBA action over the weekend. Anissa Morrow, another double-double for the former Tiger, 17 and 14. She leads the WNBA in that category. And the Suns Got the win 84-81 over LA. That's Tigers and the Pros.
The Suns, huh?
The Sun.
The Sun.
The Sun. I see, this is just, too many similar teams.
Don't look into the sun, or you'll need to go see Dr. Blake Williamson at the Williamson Eye Center. Hey. Better yet, just call the Williamson Eye Center to schedule that consultation. 924-2020, 924-2020. You want to see 2020 without contacts or glasses, call 924-2020. Or look, maybe you're stuck on those glasses or contacts. You need your prescription upgraded, updated. You need to go have your annual eye exam because you should always have your annual eye exam. My buddy, Dr. Blake Williamson, will take great care of you. Locations all over Greater Baton Rouge, WilliamsonEye.com. Williamson, EYE.com. All right, hour 3, David DeLucci talking some regional baseball coming up after SportsCenter.
AFR.
Hey, remember, God, I was sitting in my office today. My goodness, it was raining again. I was like on the phone and I looked out the window. I was like, it's raining again. It rains every day, which is great if you own a roofing company, but not great if you don't want mold in your building, your home, your office, whatever it may be. That's why you need Parish Restoration. ParishRestoration.com. It's mold remediation done right the first time. Here's the process. It's really easy. Call Parish Restoration or go to ParishRestoration.com. They'll be in touch with you to schedule time to come do an inspection. And they're going to give you a quote. What will it cost to dry fog your space? How long will it take? All that sort of stuff. Then on the day that they're coming to do the work, they're going to pull up in one of their Sprinter vans. The hoses run all through the van, so they'll just take it out, wheel it out, and then boom, they'll dry fog your entire space, close up windows and doors. As soon as the fog dissipates, you're back in totally sanitized space. ParishRestoration.com.